Why, happy Tuesday.
Hey,
Hello.
happy Tuesday to you.
Yeah. Did you have a good 4th?
Yeah,
How are you, Bob?
I'm awake, barely, but
Fairly?
hanging in there today.
Okay. Were you up late last night or something, or just?
No, not particularly. Well, I mean, I normally don't go to bed until 11ish or so anyway, and sometimes my little doggy wakes me up early, especially with the fireworks going on the night before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's poor thing gets scared to death for those things, and then people are banging these things off at midnight, and so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we had teenagers from next door. Evidently, they had a pool party on the 4th of July. And all the teenagers hung out till about 2 a.m. in the morning out in the cul-de-sac, setting off rockets and firecrackers.
Yes. Very thoughtful of them, very thoughtful.
Well, not really, but, I mean,
Yeah, right.
They are young and, and it is the 4th of July. And it's like, okay, what are you going to say?
Right.
I mean, yeah, you could go out there and, grumble at them and stuff, but hey, they're not really hurting anything, and it's not like it's every weekend, so
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah,
let it go. There are better battles to be fought.
there are.
So what'd you end up doing for the 4th? Anything?
Nothing much. Just neighbors and I had hamburgers. So that was the excitement for the day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we went to a movie, which I'm going to tell you about. It's an absolutely wonderful, great movie, And if you're nostalgic about the 60s and the 70s at all, then you'd probably really enjoy this movie. So I'll just wait till everybody gets here and then I'll tell you about it. But
all right.
Other than that, we went by Marietta Square, and this was on the 4th, and expecting to see fireworks and hang it out. Marietta had decided to have them a day before. So they had them the night of the 3rd. And was there anything like online, the newspapers, anything about that? No. So, we were not alone. I mean, we were one of probably close to 1,000 people, meandering out around the square. And, waiting, it's like 9:30 at night. It's like, well, gee, are they going to get around to having these? And somebody that was coming by had just, had talked to somebody at another table. Said, oh, no, they had those last night. And they're not having any tonight. And you got all these people sitting in the park and everything else, waiting. It was just kind of like, yep, okay, yep, that's Marietta.
That's Marietta.
Yep, I remember a couple of years ago they did that, but I think they did it for weather reasons or something like that. Because it was supposed to be like pouring down rain on the 4th or something like that, and they did it. And then on the 4th, did it pour down rain? No.
Oh.
They could have had it on the 4th if they wanted, but yeah, they do interesting things. So,
Yeah, they do.
So I saw that Jackie had joined, and then she's not here though. Huh. There's just you and Elon, and okay, there's John. All right.
Hey, how I doing?
Hey, how you doing? So all the guys in
Alrighty.
we're gonna have a little guy time here, man. There's no women. So anything we want to talk about before they all come online?
Yeah, right.
How was your 4th, John?
Very quiet, but very nice. Nothing exciting. Just saw some fireworks around the neighborhood, watched it on TV,
Mhm.
but nothing real, nothing out of the way.
Yeah. We just.
I will say,
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say, not having any classes, I painted all day yesterday.
Yay! Okay.
Yay!
Is that the one that you sent something in, right?
Correct. I sent it in right. The women on the steps.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to. I'm like, yeah, I got something for you. What was that? You know,
Yeah.
my
Painted that yesterday.
my memory is not as sharp as it used to be. It's like I used to be able to see stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. You know,
You don't have to explain about that one.
it's kind of like. Though I listened to a YouTube video. Well, it's actually not a. It was an ad. I've been turning on this music channel on YouTube, the blues. They've got like a whole bunch of them. They're really good. The only problem is that they intersperse ads in, and they put these silly ads for like supplements and stuff for like various things. This one particular ad was about a potion that you could take to improve your memory and to regrow brain cells, and stuff. And, at first, I mean, the computer was downstairs and I'm up here in the studio. And at first I was just gonna like, okay, wait it out, let it kind of go through the ad, then go back to the music. It got to be about 35, 40 minutes long. And I was like, okay, it's like, hey, this is not an ad. This is like taking over the whole, So I finally had to go downstairs and turn it off, so I could get back to the music. It was really annoying. YouTube.
Like an infomercial, huh?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, this guy was gonna talk forever. I mean, it was just like on and on and on. And it's just like finally, I kept waiting. It can't last much longer. Yeah, it can, because he'd come up with another ingredient. And there'd be another 10 minutes of explaining this special ingredient in this thing. It was like crazy. So anyway, yeah, that was a bit frustrating. But we made it. We're okay. All right. Well, we got 8 of us. Happy post 4th of July, everybody. Here we are on Tuesday. Everybody okay?
Hello. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody have a good 4th?
Yes.
Yeah. Veronica, you're not talking. You're muting yourself. There you go. Unmute.
It was good.
Good? Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay. You do anything special or you just hang out?
No, I cooked, believe it or not.
That must be a rare thing for you, Veronica.
Well, at this point in time in life, it's not one of my favorite activities. While I can do it, I don't really like it anymore because it takes away from the other things, artistic things I like to do.
Okay.
I usually either cook something on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of do that. I mean, it's like like on Saturday, I made a big pizza.
You
And-
did?
Oh yeah, like a fresh homemade pizza.
Oh, wow.
we buy the crust, and you just kind of, take the crust and then you add your own toppings to it. So I made a pizza and we had part of it on Saturday, and then the rest of it we basically brought home, and so it's still in the fridge. So we'll be having pieces of pizza for lunch, stuff during the week, which is fine. But yeah, we went. We tried to go see fireworks at Marietta Square. It didn't work out very well.
Oh,
They had actually had them on the 3rd, which was kind of disappointing. So, but yeah, we came back here thinking we're going to see fireworks, and not so much. So it's like, okay, yeah, what are you going to do? Anyway, I did want to mention to you one thing that we did, and I would recommend this to any of you. If you're up for going to the movies, and or if you're not up for going to the movies, I understand they have this on Hulu. I'll refer to it as a documentary film, okay? And the title of it is Summer of Soul. Has anybody heard about it?
No.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's a great documentary, and what it's about is at the very same time, while the Woodstock Music Festival was going on in upstate New York, in Harlem, during that same period of time, it was actually, I think, over like 6 weekends. There was what they called the Harlem Cultural Festival. Okay. And this happened in 1969. And they had some great musicians there, Motown and gospel, and just a real mix of, black music. And the thing was documented, actually, I think by somebody at CBS who went out, every weekend and shot footage from this thing and was putting it together, as like an hour-long documentary or so. And basically CBS shelved it, never showed it. It had never been shown before. And so this young guy, can't remember his last name, it's like Questlove something. Anyway, he heard about it and contacted the guy who actually shot the footage, who actually still had a lot of the footage and stuff, available. And, together they re-edited it, put it into like it's about an hour and 45, hour and 50 minute long film, but it's a great documentary. And I mean, everybody was there. Stevie Wonder, Nina Simone, The Fifth Dimension, Gladys Knight, Pips, and just about anybody and everybody else that you could think of at that time. And it was held in Harlem. But it's a great movie to go see. If you love music from that period of time or that era, you'll really enjoy it, because there were some great musicians there, and it's a great story, just in itself. So anyway, just FYI, okay? We got some work we're going to take a look at today, and basically, let's see, how many? Well, there's still only 8 of us, okay, but we're going to charge on, okay? And we're going to look at what we got. Okay, so we're gonna I don't think Susan is here.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Yay! Okay, you're one of the 8. Okay, so yeah, let's start with Susan. Okay, so Susan sent in her 3 drawings from Friday. Okay, and so this would be the barn and the farm scene. Okay. So Susan, I'm gonna pick on you a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you, did you enjoy doing this drawing? And if so, what did you enjoy? Or if you didn't, what did you find difficult or challenging about it?
I mean, it was okay. It wasn't my favorite thing to draw.
Okay.
But I did it. I don't think it was my best drawing by far.
Okay.
I tried to put in there what needed to be in there, but it was a little bit awkward for me to do
Mhm.
that. But,
So what,
and I
what did
did-
you find awkward about it?
um, it was just hard for me, the barn, I don't think the barn looks that great. I mean, maybe the tree in the front was okay, but I didn't finish it. It just kind of, I was probably trying to put in too much detail around, like that stone. I don't even know what it is, that
You mean the silo?
tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But it was, I mean, it was okay. I didn't really enjoy any of those three drawings particularly
Yeah.
that we
Yeah,
did
'cause
last.
architecture is
I
not,
think
not your
I enjoyed
favorite.
the animals.
Pardon?
But
What did you say? I missed that.
I said I enjoyed the animals that we did the week before more.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you know, I mean, everybody is a little different. You know, some people enjoy drawing animals or people, or you know, some people enjoy like, you know, landscapes and like architecture and stuff like that. But you know, it takes a lot of practice to be able to draw something like a structure, like a barn or a building, and to, you know, to get used to looking at the angles and how they change, and getting all of that right. Okay. Now I want to point out a couple of things to you. Okay, just so that you're aware of them. All right. And generally, I mean, you've got a really nice drawing. You know, like the front face of the barn. You know, this area coming toward us, the actual silo, you know, the fence lines, you know, all, you've got a lot of stuff in there that works really nicely. Okay. And even the side plane of the barn, you know, seems to move backward, you know, in a kind of a believable way. But then when you get up here to the roof line, this is kind of what is throwing you off here. And, you know, basically, and I'll have to go back and look at the reference, but I think the problem is this line right here. You know, probably didn't go uphill like that. It probably went downhill, is my thought. Okay. I could be wrong. Okay. Again, I'd have to go back and really look at the reference. But I'm thinking that the angle here is off. And other than that, you know, the drawing is really pretty solid, you know, and it, for the most part, works really well. It's just that one odd thing. This seems to be out of character for all the other angles, you know, here that you've drawn on the barn. And I'm kind of thinking that one just kind of threw you and you're off on it a little bit. Okay? But other than that, like I said, you know, you've done a really nice job on it. You know, just that one little thing. Okay. And you know, that's the problem with any painting or drawing. It only takes one little thing. Like that. You know, if you don't get it, it's kind of like, you know.
And that was extremely hard for me. That fireplace was, and that whole set, because I didn't even get to the bookcase. It was, it was gone before.
Okay. Well, the fact is, you know, the fireplace actually, it was fairly straight on. You know, it was just at a slight angle. But, you know, you did a really, really good job at that. Okay, so you look at it, you know it's a fireplace. It doesn't feel like the perspective is way off or anything like that. So overall, you actually did much better on the fireplace than you did on the barn. Okay. Now, when you get down, when you get down to the house, okay, then we're back to that perspective thing, right? And you know, you had a 90-degree angle here. You know, this side of the house was running back to a perspective point back on the horizon line. And it was up above our eye level. So all of the angles here and things all look pretty good. But then you get to this corner. And basically what happened, it seems, is you just have this angle. And it could have been running back down to that same horizon line. And instead, this is kind of running uphill to somewhere else. So it's almost like rather than being a 90-degree angle, it's like it was about a 30-degree angle. It's going off on a whole totally different picture plane. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a lot of trouble with that house.
Yeah. Well, in short, okay, my comment to you would be you need to draw things that will challenge you, and particularly trying to get a better grasp on perspective, and work with that for a while until you begin to understand it a little bit better, and your drawings will improve, okay? Because really, there's nothing wrong with the drawing itself other than the perspective is off. And, perspective is one of those things that a lot of people run screaming from, and okay, I get it, and there's ways around it. And it just, basically you've got to just practice it and really look at those angles. And if you don't really understand the angle or what it's doing, the other way to do it is what we call sight measuring, where you take your pencil or whatever you're drawing with, and you basically will hold your arm straight out in front of you, and you'll line the pencil up with the angle, and then without really bending your elbow or anything, you just drop your arm straight down onto the page that you're drawing on, and check the angle, see, and try to see what it is. Okay, and that's called sight measuring. Okay, and you can do that with angles and distances and all kinds of things. The key is you've got to keep your arm out straight, all the way out. Okay, don't bend your elbow, not in here, not out there, but all the way out, and then just drop it, straight down to your drawing, and without, rotating your hand and stuff. And you can check those angles pretty easily that way. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that, it just takes a little bit of practice, but, again, if you're not really sure of what you're really seeing, then take the time, sight measure it, drop it down, find out what that angle is, and then put it down. So, and that's
I kept losing this perspective line too, Susan. So I kept forgetting where it was.
Yeah. And that's the problem with trying to do mechanical perspective. Okay. Because trying to do mechanical perspective in a drawing is difficult unless you have a very large sheet of paper, right? Which most of us don't, most of us draw on sketchbooks, things like that. And, maybe you have an 11 by 14 or, maybe at the biggest, an 18 by 24. Well, if you're trying to figure out perspective lines and do like what we call mechanical perspective, where you take the angles and you draw them all the way out to the vanishing point on each side on a 2-point perspective, you might need a 30 or 36-inch sheet of paper to get a drawing that's big enough that you could actually see it, in some cases. So, that's the difficult thing about it. And that's why sight measuring is oftentimes a better way to approach it than trying to do mechanical perspective. But if you understand the concepts behind mechanical perspective, then when you look at a structure like a building or furniture in a room or something like that, it's easier to pick up that concept, and what you have to do and what you're really looking for, and that makes it much easier. So that's always the hard part, is like, what do I look for? You know, where do I start? And then from there, you know, you can build it from there. We'll talk more about perspective, because perspective is something that's difficult really for everybody. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bernice. Okay, so here's your barn. Okay, and you know, for the most part, okay, all the angles and things seem to be going, you know, kind of in the right direction, other than
You say see.
this funky little line right here. It's like, what's happening to that roof right there? Again, you know, we don't really know. And again, you have kind of the same thing going on. And it may have been going uphill. At least this line right here seems to be going to the same vanishing point as, or close to it as this one. So again, I'll have to look at that image and really see what's going on there with that barn. I remember drawing it, and I remember that you could see a lot of this roof, but yeah, I'll have to check and see what those angles were doing. On the house, okay. See, you've got kind of the idea, right? If this is the corner that's closest to us, then this wall is moving back, and this is the side wall of the house. And see, it does. It seems to be moving off to a vanishing point way over here on the left. And then right at the corner, see, it bends and it goes a 90-degree angle off to another vanishing point way over here on the right.
Mhm.
Do you see the difference between this drawing and yours, Susan?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, how this is kind of running downhill back to that same perspective, you know, to the same horizon line or vanishing point.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we expect to have happen in a house, you know, when we're looking at it, you know, kind of at the corner of it or something like that. So we see two planes moving away from us. So generally though, Bernice, you got the idea down here, and it feels, you know, pretty good. This over here, I'm guessing, is the other house. Yeah.
It would go in a different direction.
Well, it was actually set in parallel to that other
Oh,
house,
really?
but it was much further back. And
Oh, okay.
and the only thing I'd tell you about this is that with this side house, it probably didn't end way down here. It was probably sitting up higher, probably kind of intersect.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's farther back. Yeah.
Right, it's further back. And see, by bringing it down to that corner, you've made it really almost look like part of this house. Okay?
Mhm. Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, but, you know, again, this stuff's not easy. It's supposed to challenge you. And, you know, to try to draw something as complicated like as this in 20 minutes is not easy, you know? And again, it all comes down to a point of you have to make choices about how much detail you're going to get in and what's really important, and then the stuff that you can let go of, you know, to get the concept of the idea across. Okay.
Okay.
And then you have your interior. Okay. And actually, you know,
And that's what I had the most problem with.
you had the most problem with? Actually, I would disagree with you. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, I would. Okay. I would. You know, some of your perspective lines are a little bit funky, you know, like, you know, this seat doesn't quite, you know, run, you know, parallel to that wall. And, you know, and this bookcase seems to be doing something odd and kind of, you know, going uphill. And the fact is that it should only be the same height as this.
Oh, okay.
See, because they're the same size. There was a post there, and they were on each side of this, you know, window seat that was back there. You know, so there are little things, you know, that are off about it. And again, you know, it's just a matter of you got to take your time and try to make good observations and measure angles. You know, the thing though is that, okay, so you've got this wall and it's running back to a vanishing point, right? And then you've got this beam that's coming forward to the shelves and stuff to meet at the top of the wall. And see, the thing is, it keeps going back, and it should meet right at the back of that bench.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then that angle.
It almost does. I
Yeah,
just stopped.
I know it's close. You stopped a little bit short. Okay. You know, but overall, I mean, it still feels like things are, you know, kind of moving back in space. You know, more or less the way that you know you should. You know, are all the angles perfectly correct? No, a little bit off, but hey. Again, you know, it's a 20-minute perspective. So, and you know, again, I'm telling you, you know, the reason I threw this at you guys was because it's not easy, and you have to put on your thinking caps, and you really have to look. You know, and the hardest thing to get over is trying to draw what you think you know about any of this stuff, and really just look at it. And sometimes stop, take a little more time, measure it, you know, check it out. Okay. So then we got Bob's barn. Okay. And Bob, you know, I mean, that feels like, you know, it's a good solid barn. You know, nothing's kind of floating away or anything. So the perspective seems, you know, pretty solid on it overall. And okay, you actually got a lot of stuff in, you know, for the time that we had. And this is on that gray drawing paper, and you used, was that graphite and then like colored pencil?
It's brown paper, and it's graphite with white charcoal.
Okay, yeah, as the highlight. Okay, and see, overall, you know, you've got a good sense of the shadows and how the shadows are falling on the barn. You got a good separation and value between the shadow side of the barn, side plane, and the front plane, which was catching a lot more light. And it tells you, you know, where the light source was, which was over, you know, to the front of the barn, but to the right. So, you know, and so this silo is casting a shadow, you know, against the front face of that barn. And then the rest of it is in light. And, you know,
I didn't even see shadows. I was so busy trying to get the lines right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, yeah, you know, given the amount of time that you had, you know, you've got to tackle a lot of different problems. And if you really want to make a structure like that look dimensional, the shadows can be kind of important. And sometimes the shadows can even tell you a lot about, you know, the perspective that's going on there and how those planes change, you know, based on how the shadow is reacting as it's being cast across, you know, different surfaces. I.e. example, you know, this silo is casting a shadow back on, you know, the side of that barn, right? So, there's the house, okay? And again, you know, you got the idea. You know, this is way up above our eye level, and our eye level is somewhere, you know, probably like down in here. And so, you know, the bottom is going slightly uphill. Plus, it was sitting on a hill, and that kind of actually dropped down a lot further. But again, you know, all these lines are all running back to a similar, if not the same, vanishing point. All the lines on this side, on the front face, are running off again to a very similar or the same vanishing point. And they're both running off to vanishing points that are on the same horizon. Okay. The roof structure looks good. You know, most of the perspective in there feels pretty solid. So overall, you know, you got you know, a good sense of the structure of the house. And that's all we were really looking for. You got the interior, okay? And you basically, you know, just dealt with this one wall back here. but all of your perspective angles and things, again, seem to be going back to similar horizon line, and everything's running back to, pretty much a singular point back there until you get to the fireplace, and because it's more directly in front of us. Really? Huh. Okay, I got a weird message that my Apple ID is being used on another cell phone. I don't know why. Okay, I'll check that out later. At any rate, so everything, feels, pretty good. The coffered ceiling up here, you don't quite have the spacing right on that, because that was a little further out and you can see the intersection. But again, you got 20 minutes, so that's a little thing. Then you sent in 2 paintings. You sent in the shark that you've worked on more. And so you soften that up quite a bit, and it kind of looks like you're underwater, and it's kind of in this, deep, murky water down there. And you've got this character running around. Huh?
I airbrushed it.
Yeah.
Which changed it a lot, because basically you don't have a lot. Like, it's scratch board, but I took away the scratches.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I remember you did this on the scratch board. And so let me ask you this: Did you have to scratch out all the black background and get rid of it, or to airbrush over it, or did you just?
No, I airbrushed over the top of the black.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Yeah, that would be the easier way to do it.
Yeah.
So, and are you airbrushing acrylics or oil?
The acrylic.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Good. I'm glad you're not trying to airbrush oils. You can't.
No, I'm not that bold yet.
Yeah, you can, but that's considerably more difficult to work with.
My environment doesn't really lend itself to the oil airbrushing anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a lot of environments don't. That stuff, settles on everything in the house. So yeah, unless you have a good filtration system and wear a mask and work in a well ventilated studio that's the air doesn't get into the rest of the house, stay with your filter. Okay. Then you've got your wave, okay, and that's gotten a lot better, So you see the water drawing out, you see some of the water, pulling back and showing the tops of the rocks and things. Now this landmass that you used to have here that was really, really prominent is now much more subtle and kind of quiet. So you begin to see really the wave, the big shape of the wave. And the way that you kind of treated the color and stuff in here is really nice. You've got some light coming through the water.
I love the bottom of the water.
Yeah.
Look at the bubbles. Oh, I love that.
You mean right in here?
Right in there, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where it's pulling back from the rocks. And you see the rocks showing through. Yeah, that was a nice touch. Because that set up a nice sense of distance. These are up to view, and then it goes back in the distance.
Is this airbrush again, Bob?
no, this is all oil.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
This is
okay.
big. This is like 36 by 36.
Okay. Yeah. Are you calling this one done, or where are you at in this?
Well, I'm close. I think in the upper right-hand corner, I tried to paint a little yellow over blue that wasn't quite dry, and I got more green. I'm going to change that to more yellow, I think, up above the wave up there rather than green.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Now, when you change the color, just don't change the value.
yes. Yeah. Be very, very, very light.
Yeah. Keep it light. And in fact, I'm guessing that this light is really kind of just mist off the water.
Well, either that or it could be the sunshine behind the wave.
Yeah, yeah.
Could be.
Reacting with with the mist and stuff coming off the wave. Yeah, because your sky is considerably darker and more intense, right? So yeah, just keep that soft and keep the value similar, and don't, yeah, don't try to overdo it too much. And you've got a little bit over here on this side.
That's the side I want to change to a little brighter yellow.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe not as light as this, but certainly a little more white or something in it. And again, just keep it really, really soft. The other thing I might mention to you is here in the curl of the wave, you've got a couple of really distinctive brush strokes, right? And the color may set up like that, but going back in and just kind of feathering them down, softening them a little bit.
Okay.
Because right now, it's like one of the few places in the painting that you have a really tight painted edge. And because of the contrast, the sharp line against the rest of everything else that is soft, it really pops way forward, probably too much. Okay. And it just needs to be knocked back just ever so slightly.
Okay.
It'll be fine. Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's see who else we got. Is Eloise here?
I see her.
Yeah. I don't.
Yes, I think she is.
Oh, yay! There's she. Okay. A voice out of the dark. How you doing, Eloise?
Great, how are you?
Good. Good. Okay. So you sent in your peppers again. Okay. And and this is what you had sent in earlier, I think.
Right.
And this is, I think, the latest and greatest version. Okay. So you've intensified the color up here on the top of the pepper, with more almost like straight yellow in here. And just the colors in general seem to pop a lot. And then you've also added a little bit of that violet or blue into the shadow.
Yeah, I took Bob's advice and used Payne's Gray, Ultramarine, and something else I forgot. The 3 colors he suggested I used to make that shadow darker.
Yeah.
And I put a dark outline at the bottom of the fruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is this oil or is this acrylic?
It's oil.
Okay. The thing I would kind of recommend to you, I mean, the shadow, the value of the shadow and everything else looks good. The temperature shift is real nice. And you see how it really pops the peppers off the page and, makes those warmer temperature colors really come out, right? And come forth. So really the only thing I would say that, as far as, going any further with this, is along these edges right here.
הולך לדבר על הציור שלי עכשיו.
Yeah, just soften those edges so that they're not quite so sharp.
Okay.
And I don't know whether this is still wet or not, but if it is, just take, like a small, like round brush, and just blend the edges out just ever so slightly so that they're just not quite so hard. Okay?
All right.
I think you'll be okay.
Okay, thank you. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I'm working on the portrait and the figure, the person's outfit is black. So did you say if the central focus object is cool to make the background warm?
Yeah, you could. Because again, you're not only trying to set up a value difference to get that figure to pop forward, you're also trying to make a temperature difference.
Okay.
And now the black, see, black is kind of like purple. It can either be warm or cool. Okay. Depending on which way you shift it. And there are warmer blacks and cooler blacks. And again, when we're talking about temperature, it's all relative as to what it's sitting up against. And so are you thinking of making the black cooler?
Well, she's got on a huge black hat that looks like sort of like a sombrero, and she's got on a black jacket and black blouse. So I just made it different shades of black.
Mm-hmm.
Some is that actually none of it. I'm not sure if, I think she has black hair. I think I made her hair actually black. The other blacks are not real black.
Mm-hmm.
They're mixtures of combinations of some colors to make it dark, to look almost black.
Okay, all right. But when you started adding other colors to it, then you started changing the temperature of your black.
Mm-hmm.
So, because when you add anything to black, it either makes it lighter, and if it doesn't make it appreciably lighter, then it can shift the temperature. And, black, depending on the black you start with, if you've mixed a black, then you can have either warmer or cooler blacks. If you're taking black out of the tube, just about universally, all of those are going to be generally very cool in temperature because they have a lot of blue in the mixture. And so, just be aware of that, and just a test, you can take some of that black on your palette and just put a little touch of white into a little bit of it and really look at it and see whether it really feels neutral, or does it feel slightly blue, or does it feel slightly brown. If it's brown, then it's warmer. If it's bluish, then it's cooler. If it's neutral, then it will just look gray, and you won't really be able to tell whether it's warmer or cooler in temperature, because it won't show any other trace color in it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, just check that out. And for me, I have a few tubes of black around here. I don't usually use a lot of it. There's certain times I will, but for the most part, the black that I would buy, either in acrylic and or oil, is ivory black, bone black. Those two. I would leave Mars black away, just leave it alone. Unless you want a very blue painting.
Mm-hmm.
Because Mars black is really more blue than it is black. And in fact, if you add just a little bit of white to it, you'll see the blue come out in it. So just be aware of it, and then just know if you're using a very intense, cool black with a lot of blue in it, then you're going to have to compensate when you're trying to mix color. Or if you're darkening certain colors, know that blue in there is going to affect the intensity of the color, right?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Then we have Ilan.
Yes, sir.
And Ilan put a little more paint on that canvas, okay, of the red-haired naked lady that he's, it's that reference that I sent out. So okay, you get a little more paint on there. And I guess my question is to you, Ilan.
Yeah.
you've got this red, yellow, back there in this background, right?
Yes.
Does that represent anything in particular?
No, it just, I looked for something that is not your regular paintings, and I didn't like the background of what was in front of her, the pool and so those Mediterranean drawings, I don't know, the doors, the walls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of complicated stuff back there behind her. Okay, so let me ask you something.
Yeah.
So you want to put in a background, and I guess, how far do you want that background to feel away from her? Do you want to make it feel like it's very close to her, or do you really want to push it back?
Push it back, I think.
Okay, all right. And that would be kind of my thought. If I'm going to put in a background, I don't want it to compete with her in any way, because
Definitely.
yeah, she's my focal point, right?
Yes.
And we talked about this a little bit the other day. One is, whatever you do back here with these colors, bring these colors all the way up to the edge of her, okay? Because otherwise you begin to kind of create this halo around her, okay? And it just kind of feels like somebody took and cut her out of something else and put her down in place there. So that's number one. Number two is, all of the stuff back here in the background, you can have all the color back here you want, right? But make sure that all of the edges are blended and very soft. You don't want any real hard edges back here, again, because these hard edges compete, with the outline of her. And in fact, because they're a darker value against an even lighter value than she is, what it tends to do is create more contrast in value. And all of this red and stuff wants to move way forward. It's kind of like they're flying around her, right? Rather than back behind her. So if you just took a brush while this was wet and just blended it, blurred it, so that there was no really hard edge in here, all of this stuff would sit back behind her, and then she would move forward, okay?
Okay, I'll try it.
Yeah, yeah. But again, because you see the way her, you've got fairly sharp edges and things in here.
Okay.
Leave the edges on her alone, and it's really all back here in the background. If you just soften all these edges, all this stuff will begin to sit back, okay, for you. And
Okay.
come forward, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Gene did a cityscape, and is this watercolor, Gene?
Watercolor with gouache.
With wash, okay. All right. So you got some nice buildings there. This looks like part of Atlanta, actually. Some of those buildings look familiar.
That was the intention.
Okay. Well, your intention worked out.
Good. Good. I just
Anybody?
didn't feel like doing the 1 and 2 perspectives or that you had. Shh, hear me. Hear me.
You got somebody talking to you.
That's my dog.
Yeah.
He's barking at me. He's barking at somebody that came in to help me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So what were you saying about your perspective?
I can't even hear what you said. What do I say about what?
About 1 and 2 point perspective?
I didn't use the photographs that you sent of the houses or the interiors. I just felt like doing something else. So that's what I did to kind of substitute.
Okay. So did you do this on Friday?
I've been working, it's funny, I've been working on half a dozen things all along, but
Uh-huh.
I send them in, until I got most of them completed.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Well, like I said, they're just 5.5 by 6.5 or something, so they're all small pieces.
Okay, all right.
Not all of them.
All right.
The one with the barn is a larger piece.
Mm-hmm. Well, overall, I mean, I think you got a nice sense of perspective. Things seem like, they're kind of lined up with each other appropriately. So nothing really feels off about the angles or anything like that. Now, your light sources, you seem to be indicating that your light is basically coming from the left side, and the shadows are falling on the right.
Right.
And if that's the case, okay, you're getting light along this edge of the building, and that's falling into shadow. This seems to be turned toward, that direction, and then it, the other side, we don't see much of. The lights on the right side of this building, well, the left side, and then the shadow again to the right.
Building, the gray building, the light is coming from the left, and the purple building like next to it, or lavender next to it, is from that side. And the building is facing, with the darker gray, is facing a slightly different direction, but the light is still hitting the front side of it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this side right here, the part that's closer to us. Okay. Yeah, and it may not be a rectangular building. It may be that it changes like at an angle of about 30 or 45 degrees rather than a 90-degree angle. So that could account for how the light is playing on each side of those. But overall, I'd say, where your lights and darks are, for the most part, it works pretty well. And other than that,
how many vanishing points, Gene?
How many what?
Vanishing points?
I've got, let's see, 1, 2, for the most part, 2.
Yeah, I would say that generally this fits into a 2-point perspective. But the thing with scenes like this, not all of those buildings line up being parallel or perpendicular to each other. Depending on how they're built. Some of them could be, like I said, rather than having 90-degree angles in the buildings, some of those buildings might have a 30 or a 45-degree angle. And so that's going to change where they go to on the horizon line.
Well, a lot of times those buildings are behind other buildings, and they almost look like they're, I know I simplified it quite a bit, but it looks like that they could be placed like that because they're further back or behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The buildings in front.
Yeah, because that's the problem I was having too when I did my buildings a couple months back.
Mm-hmm.
That the different perspective, and they're turned, and some are in the back, and it was really not easy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the fun of it. You present yourself with problems and try and solve it. That's the excitement of doing it.
Yeah. Well, and architecture, like I said, is pretty challenging for a lot of people. You've got to understand, the basics of perspective pretty well to really be able to pull that off well, and or be a very, very good observer and take the time to check angles and things like that. So, looking at this lovely lady with her big hat. So this looks or sounds a lot like Eloise's problem of a lady wearing a big dark colored hat. You know,
I was thinking about her when I was doing that.
work. Okay. All right. But you've got a nice separation of values, you know, on the different planes here. So, you know, you got a sense of where the light is hitting on these surfaces. And then the underside of the hat, you know, you've darkened down. You've got enough of a step in value here between the top and the edge of the hat. And underneath it, you know, it falls into a darker shadow. So it really pushes the brim of that hat forward, you know, in front of the lady's face. And so it feels, you know, like it's sitting on her head, you know, really fairly nicely. Now, one thing I would say to you is that regardless, you know, I mean, this feels crisper and hard, but when you get into the face, try not to do this. Try not to outline things too much, and particularly with like a really, really dark value, because no matter what's going on her face there, it's very unlikely that a lot of these shadows would be as dark in value as what you have here. You know, there's going to be some.
But for some reason, I just thought it would look.
Yeah, can you lean forward when you're talking so we can hear you?
Yeah, I said I didn't really have to put those dark lines in. I did that because I was thinking about, gee whiz, I wonder what it would look like. But this is also with the watercolor and the
wash.
motion that I can paint right over those dark lines. But I just put it in because I thought it would look more abstract, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Just
Well, and it did. What it did is it flattened out the face.
yeah.
Now, rather than painting over them, what you could do is you could take just a little bit of water on a brush and go back over these lines right here and just soften them.
Okay.
The one here in the corner, yeah, you know, you could probably do it. You might have to lift some of that color out of there. Because again, all you want to do is you want to lower the contrast a little bit and soften her face up a bit. You know, and then she'll start looking a lot like a living, breathing human being.
The darkness in the neck should go out also. That needs to be lightened up.
Right. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Now, this isn't as hard edged as, you know, some of these marks up here.
Yeah.
So they are a little bit softer, but they could be a lot more soft than what you've got right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Charles,
Yeah.
is there any chance for Friday we can maybe do heads?
You know, yes, there is.
I was thinking about that earlier too, before even this came up. That's another area that's a lot of problems, just like architecture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 It's all proportions and understanding planes and angles. So.
Right.
Yep. A lot of very similar stuff. Okay. Anyway, moving on to, this is your shark.
Right.
And, you know, your shark has a lot of impact. And I was talking to somebody did a drawing, and I was talking about how just because of the proportions and things, it's like the shark didn't feel like it was moving backward, right? It was moving just straight up and down. And you did this very nicely, and you got the back, the tail and stuff to sit way back behind him. So he feels like he's actually moving forward toward us. Okay.
Right.
So you pull that off really, really nicely. Okay. That works real well. Then you've got your buildings.
That's where that was the corrected version, you know, and and you really look at the building by darkening that rooftop.
Right. Yeah. Basically just making that edge a little sharper.
That's where your eye goes now.
Right. And then you soften these up a little bit. And so again, this is moving way forward. And see, now that kind of reinforces this whole idea of the shoreline moving toward us. And again, it takes your eye to where you want it to go, which is
Yes.
right over here. Okay.
Yes. Right.
And see, it was just that little change, you know, just sharpening up that edge or thing. And it can really make quite a bit of difference,
Did
you know,
make a
in the piece.
If you do a bigger piece, it would even make a bigger impact, I think.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, this would be a nice piece to, you know, you said you're working real small, you know, on these like
Yeah,
5.
I'm just doing smaller pieces and.
Jane, lean forward, please.
I'm just making smaller pieces so I can, you know, decide if I like something good enough to make a larger piece out of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good way of working because, again, you know, you're not investing like days into doing a piece, and you could probably do 4 or 5 versions of this in a day or two and have different solutions, you know, for how to handle it. You know, maybe different colors.
I did do 3 versions, I think, and I didn't like the others at all. So but this is the one I like the best, and that's the one I sent you. I do a lot of things that are multiple, and then I throw them out to keep the one I like the better one.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that process. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I do that will never see the light of day.
Yep.
That's, you know, yeah, because I'll never show it to anybody because it's like, okay, that didn't work. You know, but you move on, you know, begin developing that idea, and little by little it gets better, and you know, you seem to find things in there that you really like, and you try to hang on to as you develop it into a more final piece. Let's see. Yeah, you got a lot of stuff in here. Okay, this is your.
This is the one that had that's a corrected one too, because I picked out some of the leaves to go
Right.
up to the body, so she wouldn't be like we had.
Right.
Like a container around her.
Right. Yeah, she doesn't have quite as much of a halo now.
Right.
Yeah. In your case, where what was it? It was Elan who had this kind of light halo around her. You've got a dark halo, but you have, you know, you've taken and broken up part of it, which is good. You know, where I probably would have encouraged you to do more would be here at the edge of the breast and under the arm. You know, because this follows the whole length of the arm, and then this kind of, again, emphasizes the breast sticking out there. And if you just soften, you know, like, again, just take water, since this is watercolor, and just wet this area, and just feather that edge out a little bit so that it's not quite as harsh and strong. Then the whole piece, you know, I think will hold together a little bit better. I mean, it's a nice piece as it is, you know. And see, I don't have a problem with this moving along the back because it looks like a cast shadow. Again, you could soften this edge right here.
All right, wait a minute. Where's your cursor? Oh, I see it.
Up above her shoulder, this edge that's real dark, that kind of parallels the shape of her shoulder. See, again, you know, just blur that out a little bit. You know, that doesn't mean make it lighter, you know, all through here. It's just like on the edge, just blur it so it's not quite as sharp a line. And it's
kind of like where the elbow is on the left side. Lighten it up like that.
Yeah, yeah. So it blends in a little bit softer. Okay. Again, you know, contrast. These sharp edges, you know, kind of call attention, you know, to themselves. So your eye tends to gravitate to wherever the sharp edges are with the most contrast. And in this case, that seems to be here. It seems to be along the edge of the breast here. It's not too bad under the elbow right here and stuff. It's just, you could, again, blur it a little bit. But then, you know, the same thing kind of happens back up in here. A lot of these edges are way too sharp.
Right.
And just need to be just a little bit softer.
Right.
That doesn't mean that they have to go away. They just need to be softer so they don't compete with her.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. I left
All
that
right.
one at the top a little bit harsher because I want to be sure the eyelid back into the piece.
Yeah. And it would, even if you softened it, you know, and let me, like, can you see where my cursor is up here
Yes.
by it?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, so if you just take and you just soften that edge right there,
Okay.
that doesn't mean take out all that color. It just, you know, blur the edge.
Gotcha.
And you can do that literally, you don't have to scrub it or anything. Just take a little bit of water, you know, on a fairly wet brush and just hit it like one time and drop water like right on that edge. And then just let it sit. Let it just kind of soften and dissolve a little bit.
Right.
And you'll be fine. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You got,
Yeah, now that one's a little bigger. That was the barn that you sent out that I did.
well, it's the idea of the barn that I sent out.
Right,
You've
yeah.
painted it at a slightly different angle, which is fine.
Right, right. And I put a lot of grassy area in the front.
Yeah.
I don't know,
And
but
the
it's
thing
like
is,
it's like a 14 by 16.
I'm sorry, what?
It's 12 by 14 or
Uh-huh.
16 by 18. I'm not sure, but it's a little larger piece. But
Okay.
I wanted to, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you're,
Just
you
got a
know,
different way.
basically the perspective and everything feels pretty solid. You've got, you know, you've got this side pretty dark. The thing I would say about this side of it is that,
Dark?
yeah, that could have been a little lighter since most of the light is hitting this front face.
Right.
So you've got the shadow on the silo, right, on the back side. And this area in here may be, you know, as dark as you have it or a little bit darker even. But over here, it's all going to be lighter because there's more sunlight, you know, hitting that.
Well, that's also just watercolor. I can take a brush and lighten a little bit.
Yeah.
Of that.
Yeah, you can always, and see, that's the great thing about watercolor is that even after it's dry, you just take, you know, you just take a little bit of a wet brush, wet that area down, let it sit for a minute, and you can always just pull back areas, you know, just lift them back a little bit. That doesn't mean back to white. That just means lighter.
Yeah.
And again, you know, when you get all the values over here,
Right.
lighter than what you've got over here, then all of this will feel like it's in light. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mainly just that you've got this and this, you know, on both sides. And that would not happen
No.
in reality.
You know, it didn't show up like that on my piece, so I don't know. When you take it, even if you take it outside, there's always a little flaw somewhere. But I think it's pretty dark on that side in the piece, in the original piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I can put the water on it and lighten it up a little bit. Make a board, you know, like a straight line. Well, it won't be a straight line, but you know.
Right. Well, yeah. And again, you know, the only reason I'd say make this lighter is that it's so much the same value as what's on the side. Okay.
I didn't see that until just now, so that's yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on, we got John, and this is the piece that he got inspired to do this weekend. And I like the way you use the color in this, John.
Okay.
You know,
I was trying to keep cool colors so that's all in shadow, like we talked about one of my other ones where the whole thing is basically in shadow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and they feel like they're kind of sitting in shadow. You know, so that works. And then the sunlit area, which is down in the lower left-hand corner, you know, being yellow, it's a much warmer temperature. So again, you know, it's a nice contrast, and in fact, it's a direct complement of the violet. So you've also got the complementary contrast going on there as well. So all of that works really pretty nicely.
Nice painting.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How big is this, John?
9 by 12.
Okay. Yeah. And you know, the structure, you know, the angles, the buildings and stuff all feel pretty solid.
Well, that's what I was trying to work on after class Friday. Did you get my architectural drawings from Friday?
Yeah. Well, I thought I did, and they're not in
I
here.
sent them right after class on Friday. I know they're not next in line.
No, they're not. Which means that evidently I didn't download them on Friday, and that's my bad. I will have to go get them. Okay.
Yeah. But that's what that was
John's
my
gotta go fishing. That's his first excuse.
Yeah, that's it, right. Well, this piece I was inspired to try to do architectural elements and shadow versus light, warm and cool colors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was really.
I like the fact that he used the average looking ladies.
That he used what?
The average looking ladies.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't have any fashion models there.
No fashion models.
But the thing is, you know, I mean, that kind of feels appropriate. It's like two older women, and they're sitting there, you know, one on the stairwell, another on, it looks like some kind of barrel or something like that. And, you know, and they're just sitting there kind of enjoying the shade, you know, and
the lady with the mismatched shoes, that's neat, John.
Yeah.
What do you mean mismatch?
I just saw that. I missed that.
Where?
You mean this is darker than this? Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just kind of seeing that as, you know, being in less light than this, but
Light and dark and shadow. Yeah, the back foot is more
Okay. Oh.
shadow.
yeah. Yeah. But
That was the intent anyway.
yeah, that was the intent.
The intention is correct. It's a darker value because it's in shadow. It looks good.
Yeah.
Nice piece.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think everything in there worked pretty well. Yeah. So good job on that one.
Thank you.
So here's June Wang's drawing of the, is June here?
Yes, I'm here.
There we go. Okay. Yay. Let's see how many, hey, 11 people showed up. How about that? Yay. Okay. Okay, so you did something a little bit funny here. You evidently got out your drone and flew way above this barn because your perspective, you know, it doesn't feel off, you know, for the way you drew it, but it feels like you're way up above the barn here. And all the perspective lines and things, you know, work out okay with that. Until you get to your silo, okay? And the silo is actually sitting in front of the barn. So you see it would be probably, it would end down here.
Okay.
A little lower. See, it's not sitting just beside it. It's actually sitting kind of in front of it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the ellipse here would be a little more open than what you've got. So it would be a little bit rounder. It'd be very round down here because it's way down below your eye level. Because your eye level, June, is way up here in this drawing. Okay?
Okay.
Right. So just, you know, a few things, but you know, if you want to elevate your view like that, that's fine. And you pulled it off pretty well. And then we have your interior. Okay. Now here things got a little bit funky.
Yeah, it's so hard to, I have the trouble with this.
Okay. So just keep in mind that anything running parallel to this back wall back here, all the way back to the corner, all of this stuff is going to line up and it's all going to go off to a vanishing point way over here to the left of us. Okay. And your eye level was really right at about the top of the fireplace right there. at the top of the casing. And so that would have kind of been your horizon line. And so all of these angles have to run off to that horizon line. See? And like I said, everything like the bookshelf, this wall right here, the wall over here, they're all parallel to each other. So again, everything on them is going to run to that one vanishing point. Now, everything facing us, say the fireplace itself, the window, the bench over here, and this window, all the way back to the corner, is going to run off to another vanishing point on that same horizon line that's way out to the right. And in fact, the vanishing point on anything running parallel to this is going to be much further to the right than the one to the left, which is going to end up closer to us on the horizon line. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes.
Yes, kind of, sort of.
Sort of. But even with her lines wrong, you can still tell that both of the windows sit back,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No,
I mean, it's fine. I mean, you could tell everything that was going on there. So that's not a problem. It's again, it's those perspective lines. They seem like a little thing, but they're not. They're kind of a big thing, and they really do help. Get things, moving backward in space. So let's see if I can. Okay, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, John resent his drawings, which is good. So I'll download those, and then I'll open them up so you guys can see them. All right. Make you guys disappear for a second here so I can see the desktop. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And then we're going to go back and we're going to do a screen share, but we're going to do John's pieces right there. Ta-da! All right, can everybody see 3 drawings on a very colorful, tropical looking background?
Right, yes.
There we go. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's John's perspective drawings. And for the most part, I mean, it's nice. Let's see. You focused in like on the bookcase and the corner and how that's working in there. It's kind of a nice, it's just a nice little detail. And I know you ran out of time, and my, I guess, advice would be, I would have kept, and gotten the rest of that shelf in there. And gotten, the sense that light was hitting the top of some of these shelves. And then this back panel back here was much darker because it was in full shadow. And that would have given you a pretty clear statement of what the form was doing in this. I mean, you've got, the front side of it and the base, really nicely. You've got the bench in here. You've got the bench coming out on the other side. So again, all that stuff is working really pretty well for you. It's just, I wish you would have gone a little bit further up in here.
I'm still trying to get used to the graphite pencils. This time I used the stump a little bit to blend. That's the first time I did that. So still getting used to the media as well as the time limit.
Yeah. And honestly, and you might try this maybe on Friday when we draw again. Keep a paper towel at hand.
I did have that too as well. Yes, I did.
And see, initially what I'll do is, I'll get my composition kind of lay out, my angles or spaces or shapes. And then I'll lay down, some light tones where the shadows are. And at that point I stop and I take it and I rub it all back with a paper towel. And what that does is that takes away most of the white. Now, that doesn't mean you have to spread it all the way out here to the edge. If you want to make it
Yeah.
a little vignette, you can do that. But having that little bit of tone back here, and then, you know, pulling out your highlights, and then going back in and, you know, restating those dark shadows and midtones and things. It's a fairly effective way of building a drawing rather quickly.
Yeah, I actually did use the paper toweling for the back trees there to lighten them up.
Yeah, just kind of blend them back a little bit.
Right.
You know, John, if you use a Q-tip, you can see where you're blending. The paper towels, my fingers are so crooked, it's difficult for me to.
That's true. That's true.
I've gone to a Q-tip for, you know, a smaller area.
Right.
It may not help you, I don't know, but it's an idea. Try.
Yes.
Yeah. If you have smaller areas to do, that's fine. Again, you know, my goal in doing that is I want to get the composition down, and then I want to get some kind of tone all over, or, you know, over that area of the paper that I'm working in, so that I can use an eraser and, you know, pull out lights, you know, and then keep pushing in like darker values and darks, and build those up. So, you know, about the only time I usually use a paper towel, maybe once, maybe twice in the drawing. It's not like, you know, you constantly use it. You just use it, like I said, after you get everything first laid out. I just take it and I just rub everything back so that it's still there, but it's just a little more faint. And so it's not, you know, it's a little bit softer than the next series of lines and tones that I put down, to establish those strong darks and any kind of edges or outlines, things that I'm trying to address. And so again, you know, you build it up in stages. Okay.
That's why, well, you said be selective if you wanted what you wanted to draw. So I just did those portions, knowing I was still struggling with the medium.
Okay. You know, you got a nice kind of rendition of where the post comes up and meets the roof line. The only thing is, this angle right here probably should be steeper, and then that would have allowed you to, you know, keep, you know, this bottom edge kind of in line.
I see, right.
On this side, you know, everything kind of lines up kind of nicely, and it all hits off to a pretty similar vanishing point. You know, this one's going somewhere else, you know, versus all of these.
Right.
Okay.
Here again, that was where one side was more in shadow, and that was playing with the color, the medium pencil graphite.
Yeah. And then as far as your barn goes, okay, again, it's almost like you've got a little bit different view. But, you know, you've taken the silo and you've turned it, right? So it looks like it's more three-dimensional, right? You've got a nice cast shadow here across the surface of the barn. And then you've got the structure of the barn itself, and that all feels pretty solid. So, in fact, you know, putting this little bit of tree branch up here in the corner really begins to set up some distance, you know, this being much closer to us and the silo,
right,
you know, being much further away. And if that were not there, this wouldn't feel quite as far away. So,
right.
So yeah, you made it.
Looking at it here, it looks like, what is it? The Decca Records in Los Angeles, the building.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Decca Records. So,
I think it's from the 70s or 80s or so earlier. There's
78s, like the RCAs. 78 records, the black records.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So
thank you for getting those in. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. No problem. Hey, you know, that's why they pay me the big bucks, right?
You got it.
Okay. So yeah, now we're gonna go back. I'm gonna kind of show you guys what I've been doing. How I kind of filled some of my time over the weekend. There we go. Let's see, reduce that. Would be good. I've been kind of busy. Let's see, where am I? Okay, let's see. Let's start with the drawings. Okay, so there's my barn drawing. Okay, now I was using a ballpoint pen, and I thought that was a good idea. And about 2/3 of the way through this drawing, my ballpoint pen started fading.
Oh, gosh.
You know, I was like, ah. So I had to get another ballpoint pen. Unfortunately, not quite the same color. But, you know, again, just trying to get the feel for, you know, the structure of the barn, put in a little bit of the landscape, you know, behind, just to indicate the trees and stuff. And I also noticed that you saw the roof actually of an old collapsed barn over here. And that was kind of part of the composition. I hadn't noticed that before in looking at that piece. And, so anyway, got it in there. The house, you know, one of the three sisters. And again, you know, I didn't bother, you know, putting in a lot of the texture for the stonework and stuff. I basically just used the pen to basically create an idea of shadow and light and the way that the shadows were being cast over here, you know, particularly on this side plane of the house. You know, I still really, I just love the structure of that house. You know, it's just the way it's put together. It's got really interesting lines and stuff to me. So that's why I picked it. There's the interior. Okay. Yeah. Now I basically did all of these in 20 minutes. Okay. I didn't go back and do anything to them. It just, you know, I got as far as I got. Again, you know, it's that idea of everything that's running parallel to each other needs to go back really to the same vanishing point over here on the left. Everything on this wall, you know, has a vanishing point going off over way to the right. And the angles are not as extreme on this wall as they are, you know, on say the beam and the back wall, the bookcase and stuff. You know, there's more of an angle, you know, contrasting there. Let's see.
Good job.
And then I spent a little bit of time working on this painting. And this is a plein air piece I had done over at Morgan Falls a couple of years ago. And, you know, basically it just needed a little more paint on it. And so I went back in and kind of pushed some of the light, you know, in the clouds. And the paint is very thin, or was very thin up here. And it still is very thin over a lot of this. But these whites I hit a little bit heavier. And by the way, there is no actual white in there. It's all got a little bit of color. Some of this is white and yellow, and the other is like white and orange, right? So there's a shift in temperature between some of these different light areas. Right? In the trees, you know, basically went back and put a little more light and contrast in the water, pushed up the lights, you know, on the trees here in the foreground. And then I grade this hillside back that's like 3 layers back. You know, just took it and grade that back a little bit. And then put a little more paint here in the foreground. And Bernice.
What size?
This is, I think, probably about 11. Well, actually, no, I think it's about a 16 by 20. Okay.
I love your clouds.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a wonderful day out there. There was these big.
It looks like it's raining.
Well, it was about to rain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we spent a little time running back and forth under the shelter out there that day, but it was fun. Still a nice day. But the thing I wanted to point out to you, Bernice, is what's happening here in the foreground. You see well, you can't now. All right, but you see what I did in the grass here? And how I used the change in texture and lighting on the surface of the grass so that it doesn't look like it's perfectly flat, and that it comes forward, and that this feels closer to us than even the trees or the water or anything like that. Do you see that? Bernice?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, you asked me, did I see how the grass is in the foreground, how it makes the two trees come forward?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, again, see, just this little bit of change in color and texture.
Mhm.
Right. See, rather than just putting down like a flat kind of shape in there, having a change in value and temperature as it moves forward, and also having a little more texture and detail to the front will kind of anchor the painting and pull it closer to you in the bottom, and then let it go back, as it goes up the canvas. You get this, succession of one layer over another. Okay?
Got it.
That makes sense? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Another little thing I worked on, and I did this kind of as a demonstration for you guys. Now this painting right here, again, it's a plein air painting, so you would call it alla prima, right? It's not a traditional process painting. You're pretty much just putting down blocks of color, right? Big shapes and developing them, from there. But you got to get the big shapes down, right? And so I did a little demonstration of a painting, and this is very small. This is, I think this is like about 8 by 10. Okay, it's not a big painting. But I had started this plein air, and so I went out. There was this little creek, with the rocks running, and you could see the stream as it kind of ran downhill here, and kind of over a series of falls and things, and the land was kind of falling away. This being much lower than up here, and there was this woman and a little girl up there, and they were kind of puttering around in the stream. So this is kind of what I started with. And again, this is really pretty quick. I mean, to get it to this stage, it was probably less than a half hour. Just again, getting in big shapes and blocks, trying to find where things were. Okay. And then after that, I went in and I started actually putting in just a little more detail, trying to begin to develop some of the space, say, behind the figures, back to this ridge back here, and trying to begin to get just a little more depth in there. And, I think at this point, you can begin to see that the trees back here are really much further away than the trees up here. But I wasn't really happy with the way it was, and it's not finished, so we needed to keep building really what we call, mid-tones and transitional tones. And so again, building more layers of color, particularly in the trees in the foreground. And again, as you build this up, you see how this begins to sink back even further? Little at a time. Began to get a little more information and change in value and movement in the water. Okay. Kept going, and let's see. Okay. So this is pretty close to done, you know, and I decided that, you know, what I was seeing, that the tree line back here was actually darker, had more contrast between the tree and the sky. And so I grayed that color down. It had been kind of this neutral green, so now it kind of went to more of a gray. And I was happier with the contrast, you know. So you've got a real good, clear delineation between the tree line and the sky. You know, putting more light, you know, up in a lot of the trees that are closer to us. And again, every layer that you add in, every time you change the value of things, again, it makes it look a little more believable, and you know, have a little more contrast. So that really helped pull most of this forward and push a lot of this back. And then I let it sit for, probably a couple of hours, and then came back in and put in my final lights. And so kind of popped everything out a little bit more. Now, I actually shot this outdoors, so this is a little truer to the color than this. You know, this had an incandescent light on it, so that's why it looks kind of orange. And this is outdoor light. Okay. But again, you know, going back in and really pushing in lighter lights, you know, in a lot of these areas, even in the trees, you know, just taking it up like one more step. And so that's kind of the finish. Does that make sense to you guys? Is there any question about the process of doing that?
Oh, very good. Understand.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I know.
Do that blocking in first and then add my details later.
Right.
It's looking very good.
Yeah. But, and that's the point I want to get across to all of you. See, you can't be in a hurry to make something look like what it is. You've got to find kind of a simple overall shape and proportion, and make sure that it works with all the other shapes in there, and that everything is sitting where you want it before you really want to take your time to put in a lot of effort to develop it and make it look like a tree or make it look like a rock or whatever that is, you know, that you're doing. So, you know, again, it's a process. So, you know, whether you're painting in watercolor, acrylics, oils, you know, it's like let go of the detail, you know, at the front end.
I'm going to say you have a lot of details, but they're not the details that all of us try and stick in.
Right.
It gets to be more detailed, more linear, instead of knowing where to stop.
Right.
Or when to stop.
And the fact is, though, Gene, there's really not any real detail in any of this painting.
Yes.
It's a suggestion.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a suggestion that there's detail.
The intricacy of putting a dark line in there, you don't need it.
Right. Yeah, you don't. See. And it's just, you know, changes in colors and values and sizes of shapes, and whether edges are crisp and tight, like, you know, here in the foreground, you know, like these trees and the edges and the water, things like that, tend to be, you know, a little more like a brush stroke. You know, I put it down and I don't mess with it. But back here, you see, I've taken and I've softened a lot of this stuff in here. Again, so the softer this stuff is, the more it sits to the background. The sharper the edges are, the more they come to the foreground. Okay? So it's just little, you know, little differences like that. Okay. All right. So that's all I got. Anybody got any questions? Anything we need to talk about? Anything fun on in the world that we need to discuss?
Price of tea in China, maybe.
Tomorrow, 'cause I won't be here in the morning.
I'm sorry, what now?
I said, I asked you what you were gonna do tomorrow morning because I won't be here in the morning.
Oh, well, we're going
I'm
to talk
curious.
about a couple of different painters that I came across, and
Okay.
you know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, same thing we
I missed
usually
some
do
of the good
on
stuff.
like Wednesday. Well, you know, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's interesting. Some of these artists are really,
Oh yeah,
really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Some of these people are doing wild and crazy stuff. You know, that when we see it, you know, we would all like to go out and do something similar. So, yeah.
Yeah.
For those-
some of them we check the things out.
Yeah, for those of you who came in late, I wanted again to give a plug to a movie that I saw over the weekend. It's called The Summer of Soul. And it's playing at local theaters, but it's also playing on Hulu if you have cable TV. And it would be well worth seeing. It's from a 1969 cultural festival in Harlem, and never got televised. I got just a very minimal amount of news coverage, but you know, it was a great concert, and you know, wonderful people there like Nina Simone and not Marvin Gaye, but Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight and the Pips. The Fifth Dimension was there. And this is early on when a lot of these people were just getting started. So they were kind of getting to be a big name. A lot of them weren't a big name yet. And but it's a great documentary, and goes into a lot of what was going on in Harlem and in the world at the time. So I would highly recommend you take some time, you know, check it out. Okay. So anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you.
We'll be back here tomorrow.
Thank you.
10 a.m.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
See you mañana.
Yep. Take care.
Thank you.